Ciao, I'm Kate Portanova, your host, Italy Experience Guide, and lifelong lover of all things Florence. This podcast is your ticket to discovering the authentic side of Florence and Italy, one story, one dish, and one piazza at a time. Whether you're dreaming of sipping espresso in a bustling cafe, wandering cobblestone streets filled with history, or connecting with locals to experience La Vera Italia, you're in the right place. Join me as I share my journey of living, breathing, and embracing Florence's beauty, culture, and charm. Along the way, we'll explore slow travel, cultural immersion, and the simple joys of Italian life, with plenty of insider tips and heartfelt stories to inspire your next adventure. So grab your cappuccino, before noon of course, and let's dive into the magic of Florence together. Ciao, everybody. Welcome to Florence and Me. It's Katie from Truly Italy as well, my travel business. Today, we're going to talk about slow travel in Italy, why you don't need to see everything. This is something that comes up a lot with my clients. They want to see from Venice to Cinque Terre to Rome to Florence, and we become an overpacked, overstuffed itinerary. And let's talk about it. When people start planning Italy, it's usually the big cities, right? We think Florence, Rome, Venice, Tuscany, Cinque Terre, Amalfi, Positano, Capri, Ischia. I mean, we think of all of them. And usually people stay, the majority of the time when I talk to clients, they're staying for the max 10 days, the most 2 weeks. And you ask yourself, how do I fit all of this into 10 days, right? So what happens is, what I notice with my clients and with other friends that actually plan travel like this, it turns into a more of a productivity exercise than a vacation. So we try to jam pack each day with all the attractions or all the restaurants that we read about on a blog or everything we saw on Instagram and TikTok. And in the end, you look at your itinerary and you're like, what is going on? Most people are like, this is great. It'll be fine. I'm going to do it because it's my first time in Italy and I can't wait to see all this stuff. But what if you don't have to see everything to experience Italy deeply? What if you thought, hey, I can just experience Italy in one place, in a few places, really connect with the locals, the culture, the festivals that are probably happening that week that you're there? What would that feel like? So what I remember from actually living in Italy for many years, I had a daily routine. I would get up in the morning, have my coffee at my house, get on my bike and ride my bike to the London school, which is where I taught English. Some days I would take the bus. If it was raining, I would take the bus because I never liked riding my bike in the rain. Nobody does. After some of my classes in the morning for lunch, I would remember stopping by my favorite panino shop in the center with Luca and Leo and having my little panino on my way to my next class. And sometimes I'd have a little bit of an early dinner with them on my way back and have another panino with tartufo. Well, so good. And a delicious glass of red. The people are what made my day. I remember my students, sure, but I also remember the people I'd see on the street. Because Florence, as I said numerous times, is a very small city when you are constantly riding through it, bustling through it on a bus. You run into people. I remember running into people on buses all the time that I knew from the pub or from all these places that I've, visited throughout my day as I was traveling from one student to the other, one school to the other. And I never came home thinking I didn't absorb enough culture or friends or food. I was always full of life. And I loved, at the end of each day, I felt that I really connected with somebody else in the city. Let it be my fruttivendolo or Luca and Leo or my friends. We would stop for an aperitivo or I would meet Stefano for a dinner. There was always some sort of connection. So the strongest memories I remember of living in Florence is not famous attractions. It's people. It's the atmosphere. It's the experiences that I had with these people that never have left me. And I still to this day remember conversations in piazzas with friends that every time I go back, I remember there's one spot in Piazza Signoria that on this one side of the Palazzo Vecchio, there's like an inlet where you can sit. And back when me and Laura were single, my friend Laura, late nights, we'd grab a bottle of wine from one of the shops and we sit there and we drink that wine. It was just something we did. And we just had conversations, and it was fun and it was memorable. Every time we passed that thing, Steph was like, I remember you sat with Laura, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, because I say it every time. Like I said, I remember my routines. I remember walking places. I remember taking the tram. I remember taking the bus. I remember specific meals. I remember the restaurant, the first time I ate octopus, and it's still there in Florence. And I just remember seeing people on the street and recognizing them. And that just felt like I was a local. And I felt like part of something. I felt like I belonged. Always returning to the same places, the same coffee shop, the same panino shop. It was always the panino shop because I was obsessed with their paninos. And then I sat there and absorbed like the culture, and I absorbed conversation that they'd have with other patrons and other locals that would come in. I wasn't constantly trying to experience Italy. I was just simply living, and I was experiencing the life and the culture right before my eyes. So yeah, that was like an ordinary day for me, which was awesome. But what if you spent a day doing absolutely nothing? So when we stayed in Radicondoli in February, which if you listen to that episode, go back to listen to that episode about what's it like to stay in a small village in Tuscany, it was very relaxed. That trip was 2 weeks long, so we had a lot of time to absorb the culture, absorb the people, connect with the people, talk with the people, and then also explore other cities around, other villages around. But every morning, once we started to get to know the locals, we'd go to Il Nazionale, the bar, every morning for our second coffee of the day, because we'd have our coffee in our apartment, and then we'd go to have a cappuccino and a brioche, una pasta, and then we'd wander. We'd wander the village, and we'd, go down all these side streets, because Radicondoli has these beautiful views from all these different, like, bucos, all these different, like, alleyways that you see these amazing hills around you that it's just like, I wish I could paint it. One of these days, I'm going to get good at painting. Then we'd either go back to the apartment, have lunch, or we'd find some place to have lunch. If it wasn't in Nazionale, we'd go outside some days. And there were some days when, and again, this was February, so it was a little chilly, but we were able to sit in the piazza right outside our apartment when the sun was hitting just right. And we got to listen to these two little old ladies, these grandmothers, like talking to each other and just talking about the day. And I just remember this one nonna, and they had said, I was listening to their conversation. She had said that she had just turned 100 years old. She had this little walker. She's adorable. And she said to her friend, she's like, I'm just so happy. It's sunny out. I love feeling the sun on my face. Like little things like that. This is what comes up in my mind. And what I'm remembering about this trip, it was these little interactions, even if it wasn't direct. We always said buongiorno to everybody, buonasera. And like, they all looked at us weird, obviously, because we were like, who are these foreigners? Like, and afternoon we would go back, have a little nap. I would read, Stefano would watch a little TV. And then when we realized that the cafe or the bar in Nazionale became like, is the heartbeat of the city, of the village, we decided we're going to go to aperitivo every night. So around 5:00, we'd see all the regulars playing cards around a table, and we'd have a glass of wine or a spritz. And Julia, the owner, would give us some chips and stuff and make sure like we're enjoying ourselves. And if you looked on if we had an itinerary, it looks like we did absolutely nothing most days. But it could become, most of these days became one of the days that we will always remember. Especially the day when we went to go watch the Radicondoli soccer team play, which was so cool. So it's usually those days that you're going to remember the most, because you had time to like marinate into like the culture and the people and therein brings the connection to those people. And I'm really boggled now and confused by why are we so uncomfortable with doing nothing? So if I ask this question, what if the value of your trip wasn't measured by how much you saw, but how much you experienced? And what I mean by value is usually people plan these trips. They've been planning like for 20, 30, 40 years to go to Italy. And it's a lot of money. I get it. And they want to see everything. And that's what Americans do. They want to just maximize their time, be productive, don't sit down, keep going, eat, and then keep going. We got another tour. We got another bus tour. And then we're going to go to this restaurant and we're going to. And we need to make it worth it. That's usually, I'm sure some of you guys, if you're listening to this, you're like thinking, oh my God, that's exactly what I think. We have to make it worth it. We spent a lot of money on this trip. And that turns into you deciding, I want to go to more towns. I want to go to more restaurants, more attractions. And then maybe you're driving a lot more. And then we forget, like, why my whole motto now with Truly Italy is to see less, feel more. Because I think Americans most often are not present. Even when they're on vacation, they're not present at their job, in life, most of the time. We're very scattered and we're very distracted by all the devices and everything. So see less, feel more. This is my Truly Italy philosophy. What it means to me is that you're able to experience a place more than just seeing it and checking it off your list. It gives you time to connect with the barista, to talk to the greengrocer in the village, maybe even to make a joke with the pharmacist that maybe knows a little bit of English. It's those types of moments that helps you feel like you belong to a place or belong to something, to the culture. So one village deeply, feeling it deeply, instead of 6 villages superficially. Because why? Yeah, Montepulciano, Montalcino, Siena, I'm not going to say Pisa. Pisa's not really always worth it. Lucca, they're all beautiful towns and villages, but what would it feel like if you just stayed in one and just kind of went out to a couple throughout your week or 10 days or ever how long you're going? And having a longer lunch, staying 2 hours sitting there. Italians do not kick you off of your table. And I've told this to numerous Americans when they were planning their trips. They always think they need to go, go, go. Italians eat and live in a completely different frequency than Americans. So if you're like, I really want to sit at this table for longer, maybe I want to talk to the waitress, or maybe I'm just going to save up for dessert. I'm going to finish this entree and then I'm going to, okay, maybe I want dessert after this, or maybe then I want grappa. Why not? It's so much better than just like tacking on another attraction or another excursion after. And then connecting with somebody local. Maybe that greengrocer gave you a really nice smile the other day and you just feel like maybe I could just say a little something to her in Italian and just maybe make some sort of connection. Even if it's subtle, instead of just going off and checking off another landmark, that's going to mean something to you. You're going to remember you trying the first time to speak in Italian with somebody you don't know and somebody that's going to really try to understand you because they appreciate you when you try to speak their language. I had one guest a few years ago who said this in the most eloquent way. And I want to read his testimonial from his trip. I think about the beauty of it, the lushness of it, and just a delight around every turn in the road or when you're walking. There's just a feast for your eyes. That's like the phrase I love. But there's also, even more importantly, we had a chance to find a feast of people in the same way. The warmth and the caring and the pride in the countryside and the wines and in the food. And all of that was just reinforced. And that in essence, like just that whole experience that Skip expressed is exactly what the slow travel idea of staying in one town, one village for the duration of your trip. This is the Italy I want you guys to know. The feast for your eyes, the lushness of it. I just love all those words he said. I'm truly grateful for those words. And then the fear underneath all of this is the overpacked itinerary. What if this is my only trip to Italy, which everybody thinks about when they're planning a trip across the globe. So this might be somebody's dream from years and years ago, and they want to see everything. That's always everybody's goal, right? To see everything, all the landmarks, maybe go to the famous restaurants you saw on Stanley Tucci's show. I don't know. But rushing doesn't guarantee that you're going to experience more. Think about that. You're rushing through the lunch, the dinner, the attraction, the excursion, the wine tasting. It's not going to help you experience it more. It's just not. I mean, what you're going to probably remember if you're on that track of overpacked and overstuffed itinerary, you're going to remember you packing, checking out, all the train stations, lugging your bags around, parking, the directions that probably weren't correct, and maybe a driver getting lost. Those are the things it's going to come up in your head when you think about this trip. What we experienced at Radicondoli, getting to know the locals at the bar by the third day. By the third day, they were recognizing us, and they finally started asking us inquisitive questions like, what are you doing here? Where are you from? Why'd you choose Radicondoli? Like, what's your story? Like, basically just little tiny questions here and there that started letting me and Stefano feel like we could open up. And by the fourth dinner we had at Giulia's restaurant in Nazionale, we had our own table by the window. She's like, oh, that's your table. Go by the window. And we felt accepted and we felt like we belonged. And I could even get teary-eyed because it's like something that is hard to find in a lot of towns, especially when you're traveling. So here's some just practical advice to give Italy some room. When you decide you're planning your trip and everything, choose fewer home bases. If you must see Venice, Rome, Cinque Terre, Amalfi, choose fewer. Try not to make it every 2 days you're packing. Because honest to God, I know some people like to do that, and that's okay. But a lot of people do it because everybody else does it, and then they come home going, why did I do that? And I want you to leave part of your day intentionally unplanned. And it's amazing what things happen, what things can happen and unfold, and what you'll experience when you just don't plan that afternoon, that evening. Return to the same cafe bar. I recommend it, especially if there's just one cafe in the town. They will remember you. They will ask inquisitive questions and like kind of be a little nosy, like, what are you doing here? You're still here. Usually people only come once while you're here, you know? And they're grateful. They want to hear your story, just like we want to hear theirs. In Giulia's restaurant, there's all these old pictures around. And Stefano asked one night to Francesco, one of the waiters, like, is one of your grandparents in there? And he's like, I think it's one of my great grandparents are in there in that picture. It's just like banter. Things happen, and you just get to know like what. It's so cool. Why do you? And like Stefano also asked, like, why is it called Il Nazionale 2.0? And Giulia explained, well, there were owners before us. It was called Il Nazionale, and we bought it as a family, her and her sisters and her kids and everything. And we decided because it's a different family, 2.0. Like, cool. Another story. You get to know them. Allow yourself a 2-hour lunch. I know it's hard, Americans. It's hard to sit there without waiting. Is the check coming? It's hard. But Italians will not kick you out unless they are closing. They'll say, hey, we're closed. But they usually don't. They'll wait for you to leave. So don't feel like you're imposing or taking too long. Italians don't care. They want you to stay. They want you to relax and digest. Spend an evening in your own village, the whole evening. Walk around the village. If there's other cafes, go to another cafe. If there's another restaurant, maybe you go there for a grappa. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe you just congregate in the piazza where everybody else is on a summer's eve. But like, I want you guys to ask yourself when you're planning, what would happen if I left this afternoon empty? Can't answer that until you're there. So think about that. So bringing it back to real life, into your daily life, Italy has taught me that more isn't better. Is not necessarily better, but isn't better, okay? More places and plans and accomplishment don't automatically create a richer life. So when you're adding to your itinerary, that doesn't mean you're going to have a better time. You're going to be more exhausted, which doesn't mean you're going to have a better time. And slow travel is really about paying attention, being present. Don't just keep looking at your phone. Don't keep taking pictures. Put your phone down. Use your eyes, right? Your eyes are there so you can see things. My friend Pasquale would always say when I would take pictures and stuff, he's like, use your eyes to see it. You don't have to take a picture of it. He was notorious for always saying that. When I was like, I want to take a picture, he's like, why? Use your eyes. Experience it. How does that view make you feel? And being able to keep this presence going, like maybe that's something you can bring home to your life. Being more present, paying attention. So to conclude, the goal isn't to come home saying, I saw everything in Italy. Because if you did, I'm sure you'll be sleeping, but right after you tell me everything you saw because you're exhausted. It's to come home saying, I feel like I was really there and I met with the people. I connected with the people. I learned a new recipe or I tasted a new food, tasted a wine I never heard of. So see less, feel more. Got it? Okay. If you'd like to download my Slow Tuscany Starter Kit, it's for people that are planning their trip to Tuscany and they want fewer places, more breathing room, and a deeper connection. I put that link in the show notes. And also, if you don't know, I also offer itinerary help and also custom trip planning, which is very versatile when it comes to what you need. I'll also leave a link in the show notes for you because I'd love to help you out. I want you to experience it the way it's supposed to be experienced. Okay. Allora, buongiorno, buonasera, buonanotte, wherever you are.
And I'll see you on the next podcast. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for joining me on this journey through the heart of Florence and beyond. I hope today's episode has inspired you to slow down, embrace authentic travel, and connect with the beauty of Italian culture. If you loved what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the magic of Florence and me with your fellow travelers. Until next time, remember, the best way to travel is slowly. Ciao for now. See you in the next episode.